Sound check. Test.
We're good. We're live.
Oh boy.
Larry.
I'm getting a real echo from you though.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't want to take this headset out, but if I have to, I'll go into another room. Let me try this. I don't know what's going on with this.
Looks like you're standing in a hallway.
Program.
And there's and there'll be a stairwell somewhere around there.
Hang on, Brent.
For some reason,
I've had the same issue in this room.
I don't know what it is. I'm gonna try going somewhere else. We're out completely alone.
Isolation booth.
You guys continue on. I'll be back.
Are there folks in the customer roundtable room, Kathleen?
Okay.
All right, and we continue without our
And
video.
I'm Paul Greenberg. I just
Yep.
left the other part out.
Hey, Paul, how we doing?
This is good. Are you guys are both at Connections, I presume?
We are.
I literally the life of a retiree. The reason I was a couple minutes late is I had to finish working out, take a shower, get dressed, and shave and get on. Right. So that's what I had to do. I didn't have to run from a meeting somewhere or go back to my room.
Yes, the literal echo chamber, as Simone says.
Yeah. No, it really is. It's like
Yeah.
you're not echoing, but you've got some ambient. Brent was just holy crap. But was he in a hallway somewhere?
No, he was in the same room as us.
He was in the same room, but for whatever reason, he was having an issue.
Holy cow. All right. Well, he's got control of this, so we can only chew the fat. Anything happened so far? Even though it's the beginning of everything?
Right now, we're in the pregame, so we haven't missed anything. Basically, we're trying to get marketers everywhere excited about the end of no reply marketing.
Countdown to
and
Keynote
it's-
735. Okay.
And it's going to be awesome.
Wait, what in the world is no reply marketing? And what's the point of no reply marketing for that matter?
Well, you know how it is, right? When you get those emails that are like,
Says
"Here's
do
a
not
great
reply.
offer," and you hit like reply, and the address says no reply on it, which basically the address says
That
like-
kind of
like you don't count, you don't,
right.
you're a loser.
Right. We're telling you this, and too bad if you
Yeah,
want to tell us something not happening.
yeah. And Salesforce is saying that era is now over, as of today.
Really? So
Yeah.
that means
Yes.
nowhere in the world will we see no reply anymore?
Exactly. Nowhere in the world that's running Agentforce.
So what's going to happen? You won't get an email at all?
I hope so.
Come on, Paul. You know what's going to happen. There's going to be oodles of real-time interactions.
Hyper personalized.
I'm waiting for my oodles of hyper interactions to show up. I ordered it through
No,
Uber
don't forget
Eats.
Rebecca added the word to it. It's your oodles of hyper-personalized interactions.
Yes, they will be hyper-personalized, and you will love it.
I love hyper-personalized. I always thought hyper meant like, a little bit nuts, a little bit over the top and nuts. So these are going to be a little bit over the top and crazy nuts, personalized interactions. Things like, hi, you're not responding to us. We said no reply, but we're not saying it anymore, but you're a fool, so don't bother. Right? That's the way they're going to handle it from now on. It won't say no reply. They're just going to discourage reply.
Anyway, so that's the keynote, so we can all go home now.
Okay. We did it, and that's pretty good. We did it with 5 minutes to go to start it.
Yeah, we already lost Alan too.
Yeah.
He must be checking an email.
So you at where is the conference at?
We are at McCormick,
Yeah.
No wonder.
How do I
No
sound?
wonder there's a problem.
All right, testing Brent Leary.
Can you hear me all right?
Better by a long shot.
Okay.
You're a little low actually, but better.
I'm only 5'7", so.
Oh, you're a little short then.
All right.
Yeah,
Alright.
better, Brent. Better, definitely.
Introducing. Where did Alan go? I was getting ready to introduce him.
He was on and then he left. I
John
think he was
told him
getting the
everything that
hyper
was in the keynote,
personalized.
so he left.
He was getting
Yeah.
oodles of hyper personalized
All right, let's say
emails.
hello. Let's say good morning to Mr. Bob Fagel. Hey, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
And let's see. The echo chamber. Not anymore.
Now you're You're kind of muffled, actually.
Yeah, Brent, we got to jack up your volume, man.
Yeah. Kick it up.
Okay. Let me bring back the one and only Alan while I do that.
There he is.
Yeah, I forgot to log into StreamYard so I could stream it.
Oh, for some reason, Facebook's having a problem streaming StreamYard according to what I was told, so I just took it off of that, and I'm leaving it on LinkedIn only for my thing. Because PPN's already doing it on YouTube, so I'm not doing that.
All right. How does it sound now?
Better.
You still sound garbled though.
Yeah, it's it's a little underwater, but it's louder.
I don't know what's going on.
Do you have one of the little labs on?
No.
That's why.
No, that's
There you go. Whatever you just did sounded way better.
I don't know what I did. But
What?
It's wherever your face is positioned to the microphone, Brian.
Yeah,
I'm like leaning in
yeah. That's the mic on the
on the MacBook Pro.
MacBook Pro. Yeah, it's probably why.
No, it's hasn't been. I don't know what's going on.
It just could be the room.
Is it okay now, or do I need to go somewhere else?
If you stay with your head in there, it's loud enough. Right, and there's no echo.
You want to eat the computer? That's what it feels like.
That's right. You can just go head to head in a very affectionate kind
No,
of.
we're not.
Like you do with cats and dogs.
Okay, I'm going to mute this, and I want to get. Not me. I muted myself. This is great.
Also exciting.
I'm muting her because I want to get each of you to go around and say what you're looking for in this keynote. So, Rebecca, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, I think to John's point, we're going to hear about no reply email, but I'm really looking to hear about how they're bringing marketing to core, how they're going to bring customers there, and also how they're thinking about sort of bringing Tableau next into the mix for marketers.
Cool. Alan, a newcomer to the watch party, Alan Berkson.
I'm coming with an open mind. And I mean that in the sense that there's so much hype around the impact of AI and Gen AI on marketing, and Salesforce generally has a better story and vision than most. So I'm really curious to see how they piece that together.
You are in loyalty.
Brohammer.
You inspire action.
So
You take data.
obviously, I want to hear about the end of no reply marketing and what that really means. But I think it's a very interesting area for agents marketing because there is a tolerance for error in marketing that you don't have in industrial setting. So there's a little more room to play around, so to speak. I think operational efficiency is more of the no-brainer. I want to hear about how it's going to improve customer relationships because I don't think that's as easy.
Where every journey is personal.
And the venerable Paul Green.
I'm retired. I don't care. No, actually.
Oh, that's cheating.
Yeah, I know.
Stop it.
But I can easily get out of it, though, because I am retired, so I don't care what anyone says either. Right, so one thing, I'm kind of leaning toward Rebecca's idea, which is, core marketing. Look, we know we're going to hear agentic something or another. No reply emails, probably the way they're going to be largely focusing a lot of that. But there's also, classic heavy-duty marketing needs in a time where things are dramatically changed. So, example, years ago, Thunderhead said campaigns are going to end, conversations are where it's going to be. And I happen to, it was a little premature when they said it, but I happen to agree with kind of getting there. I don't think campaigns are going to actually end, but let's say there'll be less reliance on that and more on that personalized interaction. So I'm curious to see how they align with that, because it's still a bit of a future, but it's something that I think is on the way.
I'm going to throw in this from Simone.
Please welcome.
I hope to get that's on. Hey, CRM not just gets the customer on board, but help the back end support teams keep the customer.
Hello,
all right.
everyone.
Thanks, Simone.
Chicago.
Wow, they're actually starting
Welcome
pretty much
to
on time. This is
Connections
great.
2025. I couldn't be more excited to be here. This is my favorite time of the year because as much as I love our sales and service friends, as a marketer, there's nothing better than to be able to talk about the world of marketing with Salesforce, and we have so much to cover today. I think you saw outside some signs about
He's a nice guy.
agentic marketing. So that's what we're going to talk about today, but I'd like to start off with a simple question. What if every marketing message could start a two-way conversation?
Right. That was our
Two-way
correspondent, Liz
conversations
Miller.
is what we want. It's a human interaction.
Field correspondent.
If you
Is she
think
there?
about when we have
Yep.
our best employees
She's in the room.
talking to our customers, they're listening, they're being empathetic, they're responding, having a very real conversation that's likely to result in a positive outcome. But when it comes to our marketing
There you
messages,
go. Right to the
often
point.
too much of it is just blasting messages out to channels. But we think there's a better way, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Let me just give you a little highlight first of how this looks in
Be
a
about
couple
Formula
different
One.
channels. So let's take email. We're all familiar with a lot of the email marketing that we do, where we send out a message, a call to action with a link. Not a two-way conversation. We're not even subtle about it if you look at the from email that we send a lot, right? I mean, how many of us have sent something that says do not reply? It definitely tells you not to reply. Well, what if emails could be a little bit different? In a world of agentic marketing, if you think about having an email, and this is from a retailer that comes to me, and basically it's giving me an offer of polo shirts. Okay, here's some polo shirts, are you interested? And it's from my Stylecaster AI agent, Patrick. And because I know it's an agent, I can, just respond. I have a question like,
All right,
polo shirts.
another lawsuit in the making. We had 10 at Pega, and now we got one at Salesforce.
Could I get one in white? And then the agent can go and respond and say, sure, no problem, we got that. And since it knows me, we can place an order. Here's the total. Would you like it?
Totally agree there,
The order.
Simone.
I don't have to click on a link. I don't have to go to a forum. And again, think about this. We're replicating the conversations with your best employees have with your customers.
The only problem
Now,
is I already
it's not just
unsubscribed
email,
from the email
but
before that.
text as well. You think text should be an
And my
inherently
answer to that
two-way
question would
conversation,
actually be
but
no.
too many of our marketing
So
texts are
that would,
simply
might as well say
a
do not
message
reply.
and a link. But instead, we can go send people messages and say, well, you just bought this polo. We got some shorts in. Now, if I had just gotten a message that said, hey, we have shorts to match your polo, I'd say, like, shorts, I got to try them on. I would just delete it. But since I know it's an agent, I can tell them my problem here is that I don't know what my size is. I need to see them in person. They go, no worries. By the way, your size is size 33, and we put one in the store because we know you want to try it on. And when we think about ads, most ads today send people just to static web pages with a form. But instead, if you sent them from an ad directly to an agent that could have a two-way conversation right in your website, and if your website, instead of just showing one-size-fits-all information,
Jumped
if your
right into
website
technology and
dynamically
instead of
renders
telling
the
the story,
content
the
based on
outcomes.
what's most useful for the conversation you're having with the agent. In this case, I'm talking to the agent about polo shirts and maybe some colors that I like, and it's showing those in a way that
Yeah, there was no real
reinforces
stage
the
setting, I guess.
No.
So
It's-
this is the
Hi,
promise
I'm Ariel.
of
Here's what
agentic
we
marketing,
have.
that we can have
Well, they had a
two-way
little video at the
interactive
beginning, but I don't think
conversations
they were
that
really
really
paying
are
attention.
effective across every
But
marketing
it didn't
channel.
feel like it was
That's what we're
connected
going to talk
directly.
about today. We're going to talk
But
about
it
And it
is.
feels
how
like they
agentic
stole
marketing
it
is
from their
just
social
changing
marketing
everything
keynote from
about
10 years
how
ago.
we market to our customers, from how we launch
Oh, you got a good
campaigns,
memory.
Yeah,
to how
have
we
Matthew
engage
McConaughey in
across
it.
channels, to how we qualify
Plus.
leads for our B2B customers, and
All right,
how
all
we,
right, all right.
optimize
Copyright
campaigns.
infringement
But
on
first,
Patrick.
I really want to thank everyone for coming here today.
Oh,
It's
he's
good.
gonna
He's
skip
calling
all
his
Because I
agent
know
as we
everyone's super
speak.
busy, and we all have things that we need to do.
I still enjoy the circular walk and talk.
Well, that's always good.
Yeah, I like that.
And our community leaders, if we have any
Plus, they're actually showing
they
the
practice
crowd.
that. Is that part of leadership training? Is the circular walk and talk?
I don't know. Well, the other thing they do, which today, no, I don't know why the other vendors don't do it. They're smart and they do a lot of crowd shots.
Yeah. Well, first of all, shout out to Easy Ed Schlesinger for joining us. I think the walk and talk is good because it does it keeps you right in there with the audience as opposed to high up on the pillar, so to speak. I kind of like
as a company. Because of all the success of
I also happen to like him
we've been
personally.
able to grow a lot. We're going to surpass this year $41 billion in
a bunch of conversations with him when he was at Oracle.
Makes me proud to work here at Salesforce is the fact that as
that wasn't a very long time
we're
either.
also doing good. And being recognized as one of the most innovative companies, one of the most philanthropic, and one of the most ethical companies.
There you go.
And
Finally talking about something other than the technology.
I especially want to highlight this for those of you who are new to the Salesforce family here, is our 1-1-1 model. Many of you who've been with us for a while know about this, but this is when Mark and Parker started the company 25 years ago. We put 1% of our equity, our time, and our product.
It ain't easy being a Jets fan, isn't it? Isn't that right, Alan?
And this is resulting in a massive amount of great activity. This year, we're going to surpass 10 million volunteer hours. And what's even better is almost 20,000 companies have copied us. Usually copying is not good in the software industry.
I love that. There's a perfect marketing statement. Look at the statement. Join 19,000 companies, almost 20,000 companies. Just threw in an extra 1,000 for the hell of it. I love it. Almost 20,000. 19,001.
Change that's happening in the world. And AI agents. You hear everyone talking about AI agents, AI agents. Well, how do we get to this world of agentic marketing? That is what we're going to spend.
You don't go to how until you start with why. Come on.
The first thing I want to talk about is how AI agents work. So just sort of taking a step back from the marketing perspective, just think about AI agents in general.
This was a startup pitch. I would have shut it off already.
They instantly understand all of your data. So I think as most of us know, the key
May West. I wonder how many people actually know who May West.
Yeah, that kind of ages you if you do say that.
And we're talking about marketing. It's got to be grounded in data about your customers. So
at least
grounded in that data, then
3 of us, I think, got that one.
Understanding what is the job that it's going to do. What is it trying to accomplish?
And the other ones are just playing like they didn't get it because they know how to mix it.
It takes action.
I feel like I have to ruffle my boa and say, why don't you come up and see me
sometime?
No, we really don't want you to ruffle your boa.
That big boy. Don't why don't you come up and see me sometime, big boy?
Let's stop this now.
Give you an answer. So they have agents, they can take action. They can go and do things like submit orders.
So I think the why is
kickoff campaigns.
Agents enable you to have these two-way
so
conversations.
Action orientation is really
point of
what's
contact
gotten
with
people
customers.
excited.
But I would have loved to see that.
Taking action. You have an opportunity for something bigger.
Well, it's the outcome, right, Rebecca? I mean, they're skipping to how these things are going to work, but what are we trying to achieve? How are they going to measure success? What is it? How do you scale? How do you scale well? That's what agents will do. But
I got a question for every one of you at this point. What do you think of their messaging around the digital labor revolution? I'm really curious.
And so
I've heard very mixed thinking on it.
About what?
The digital labor revolution. That
scale massively.
I'm not a fan of that as a messaging. I don't like it. I've been pretty consistent about that across vendors. I'm not picking on Salesforce here.
I think if you look at Salesforce's messaging, they've kind of walked back. If you look at what they're talking about with Service Cloud right now, they're talking much more about the agent-assisted human rather than the sort of digital replacement that Mark was talking about, sort of like end of the year, beginning of the year. So I think they've already recognized that customers aren't necessarily comfortable with that, and that it's a message they need to think about more carefully.
Building AI.
The thing is that labor and workers that has a really sacred history of fighting for workers' rights, values, unions, all of that stuff. And maybe someday machines will earn that type of prerogative, but that day has not arrived yet. And I think customers again and again, they want technology that helps them to do their jobs better. And I you know, personally, I don't want an invisible, I don't want a totally automatic teammate that can outwork me all day long. That doesn't appeal to me at all. I want someone who can help me do my job better. And so I think the problem that we have here is that shareholders like this messaging a lot more than customers do. That's the issue.
Especially in union shops.
Now,
Yeah.
what does this mean for marketers?
I mean, the other side. Look, I mean, the other side to your point, John, is that history was partly fought not just for better wages, but for the dignity of the people fighting it, right? Meaning they fought for it because they wanted basically a seat at the table to represent themselves, and that's not. AI agents don't represent anything or anyone.
Yeah, they do, Paul.
Anyone.
AI agents represent management.
And then if we could,
I don't even.
So it's actually the opposite of labor.
Could be dynamic.
Well, actually, it might represent management for a time before it starts thinking they know more than
pretty exciting.
Well, there you go. But it's the wrong side of the equation. Labor is on the other side of the equation.
Yeah. What about which company do you think has the best approach?
When they think
the
about
best
applying AI and marketing
idea of that.
Well, first of all, people are worried about expensive
let's say
IT projects.
counterposition. I mean, I know I like personally. I've liked. I don't know the messaging per se, but the way Oracle's tended to treat it, which is as an AI and agents are an adjunct to human labor, and because you work already, right? We'll do what we can to help improve that work, right? As one aspect of what they're talking. And I appreciate that approach.
Paul, before the prior slide was basically the sales pitch for every company that sells against Salesforce.
With AI agents. And we think about
I'll ask him to roll it back a slide.
He was talking about siloed data and
silos and
disconnected. Yeah, it was the pitch for everybody who sells against Salesforce.
We pull everything together, starting with our metadata platform, and then Data Cloud on top of that.
But to Rebecca's point, I want to see how they handle this in today's keynote, because got to give them a chance to see if they can improve upon the past messaging around it.
And then we have Marketing Cloud next. This is something
they already said digital labor revolution.
They did. Yes.
New button there. That means there's something new. So, yeah, I know it's fancy marketing.
I had a customer meeting this morning. She's marketing for that new golf league. And one of the things I asked her is, what do you feel about AI? And she's like, I still don't know exactly what it will do or help me with. I think a lot of marketing folks might be in that same boat, because most of the focus has been so far on the service impact of AI.
Exactly.
Every time I talk
and too, a lot of the marketing folks were able to use cloud apps to automate a lot of things already, right? So a lot of the low-hanging fruit that I would do with a simple agent, I've already done in marketing. I haven't necessarily done that in service.
I think one thing that Salesforce is doing here, which is to their benefit, is they're kind of jumping to the front of the line on agentic marketing. I haven't seen anybody else emphasize it. To Brent's point, really, I haven't seen anybody emphasize it in any way whatsoever yet until this.
You can use any LLM, even the ones that you have built yourself.
The agentic I've seen for marketing has been on the back office workflows and insights, not on the engagement side.
I think we spend a lot of time.
Well, there's been quite a bit on campaign creation and management. Seen a lot on that.
It's more on the but it's more on the to Alan's point. It's on the workflow side.
The performance of our campaigns.
I mean, Pega does, with Blueprint, everything does workflow. It pretty much does all of it.
Modern marketing and to power.
Simone is going to town, and we love it. Thanks for all the really insightful comments.
Hey, thanks, Simone. Good to hear from you.
A little bit about this. So,
been a while.
With Data Cloud, it allows you to unify all of your data with zero copy. So you could have a single customer record that captures all of the activity that your customers have. All
Customer 360
about your customers. And what this allows you to do is to provide deeper personalization with that knowledge about the customer and segmentation for your campaigns. And then you can activate across all the apps and channels. And then, most importantly, the data that you need to power your AI lives in Data Cloud. So Data Cloud stores both the structured and the unstructured data that's important to make sure that your agents both take the right actions and then also construct conversations that are meaningful. So Data Cloud has been incredibly well adopted. It's literally the fastest growing product in the history of Salesforce. And we're also proud that it's been recognized by Gartner as the leading customer data platform, being the winner of the 2025 Magic Quadrant for customer data platforms with the most functionality and the most customer
You're not supposed to say
success.
winner.
So how does
I was
Data
going to
Cloud work?
say, it's a winner.
Thank you, Leah.
We were recognized. We were recognized.
Wait, you can win a
So how
quadrant?
Data
I didn't
Cloud
know that.
works, the first thing that
Apparently.
you do is
Oh,
you
thank
connect
you.
all of these
Top
data sources.
25%.
Now, you can use Data Cloud to pull all the data in, but what a lot of our customers do is they use our zero-copy connectors. And so a lot of people will say, well, I've done some work and I built a customer data warehouse where I pulled together maybe my Salesforce data, my web analytics data, some inventory data from SAP. I have it in a Snowflake data warehouse or in Redshift.
You know, the funny
or in
thing is,
BigQuery. Well, if you've already
technically,
done
I
that
don't
work, great.
doubt that they
You've
built
won the lottery
something
'cause you've done most of
pretty
the hard
good here,
work.
but
And what we
I
can
mean,
do is
I don't
zero
call
copy.
myself
Your
expert
data can
enough to
stay
know
in,
the
let's say, your
innards, but
Snowflake repository. You don't
generally
have to
they're doing
copy
the
again.
things that a modern
Once we
enterprise
map
would
the data,
require,
you see this
but
harmonized and unified stage.
it's just the
When
rest
we
of it I
map all
have
the
to
data models together.
be concerned about.
As far as everything in Salesforce is
I
concerned,
feel like I would have wished to
all
have, if
that
I'm a
data lives
marketer
natively
coming
in
to this, it's
Salesforce,
like, show
even
me
though
what the
it's in
vision
your
of the future
Snowflake or
looks
your
like,
Redshift
and then
data
show me how
warehouse,
to
and
do
we're
it.
reaching
They're
out to you.
showing me how to
So
do it
no need to
first.
duplicate or move the data. So once you harmonize and
Yeah, I
unify
think
this
that's
data,
what I
you'll
was
have a
getting at
single
earlier,
customer
is that
profile.
what I really want
And
to
so at
hear is
Salesforce,
sort of the
we
vision of
use
the
our own
future of,
products.
Yep.
of
And my
work for
team starts
marketers.
with
That's really what I
240
want to hear.
million
And then from there,
profiles
we can
of
get
customers
into
from all the different data
the role of
sources that we
technology,
harmonize down
the role
to
of
140
data
million
cloud, all of
unique
that stuff,
profiles.
right?
And then we
But
go
where
to
are we going with
define
this?
a set of
And
governance
we
rules.
almost got
Who
there
can
in the
use what
beginning when
data,
you
what it's
started
supposed to be
talking
used
about
for.
what if every
And
message
then we
created a
create the
conversation.
segmentations. And this
Right.
is kind of where the meat
But
of
Again,
there's
the
another
marketing starts to
step
happen.
there that
So we
talks
can
about
say,
how it
what are these
enables
segments that
a
we
lot
want
more
to market
people to be
to?
having
And something that
conversations
we've
at
done
scale.
on
And
my
it's not
team is I
about
wanted to
digital
take people
hyper-personalization
away
at
from this
all.
world of having marketers around
It's
the world
about,
doing their own
enabling
monkey
a lot more
circle to
people to have
define
those
who they want to
conversations
market to
that
on their own.
are
Sometimes they're good at it,
person to
sometimes they're
person
not. But
or
instead,
person to
what I think is
AI,
becoming
as we'll call
popular
it.
I'm
is
going
to say,
back to
well, let's
Thunderhead
use
on that one.
AI-powered
They
segments
they
that
literally
use
could do
machine
that.
learning models to define segments, in our
But
case, for all the combinations of
they
product
were
interests,
the ones who
geography,
triggered
and
me into
segment,
thinking about
and then load it up.
conversation,
We have 1,400 different AI-driven
campaigns
segments that are constantly
diminishing, really.
refactoring
End of
with
is
new lists of all
never
the
the
best people to
right
market
two
to. So our
words to
marketers, when
start
they want to do a
anything with.
campaign,
End
most
of
what they're
email,
doing is
remember
they're
that?
picking the segments. So
2008.
Data Cloud has the
End of
ability to
email.
create these
So that would be my question
AI-powered
for you all.
segments,
If
but
you
also
were a
we can
CMO, what
import
would get
models
you
that you've
excited
created, because a
about the
lot of you
future of
create your
marketing?
own
Would it be that you
machine
just
learning
sent the most
models for segments as
hyper-personalized
well.
email in
And
the
then
face of
lastly, when it comes
existence?
to activation, if you want to get
No,
that
seriously,
data
what would
into your
excite you
Salesforce
as a
user
CMO
interfaces,
about your
there's nothing
future?
you need to do. It's as native
Well,
as if you
If I'm
created a
this
custom
CMO
object
is
in Salesforce,
always
no matter if
understaffed
it's
and under
living in Data
budgeted.
Cloud or if it's
And if
mapped
if
to
I could
another
see
system
how
using zero
to
copy.
do
And then, of
the
course, we
stuff
have
that I never
connectors
get
for
to
all the
do
popular
because I
advertising
now have automation
platforms
handling the stuff that
and
my highly paid
for
employees are
many
doing, but is
third-party
really more grunt
business
work,
applications.
and I
Well,
can get more
enough of me
effective
talking
work
about Data
done.
Cloud.
That's
I
what I'd like to
luckily
see,
happen
and
to have a
I'm not
customer
sure that
sitting in
I've
the front row
seen
here.
that
I
yet.
want to thank.
If I
This is
could have the
Andrew
data and
Chang
visibility
from
and the
University of
ability to
Chicago Medicine, who's
predict
the
so I can
CMO.
very quickly pull the plug on a campaign that's
Thank you
not
for joining us today. I
delivering
like
the way
your
it should,
Jordans.
really
Yeah,
being able to
thanks for having
understand
me.
where I'm getting
Awesome, I appreciate
value
it. Well, maybe
and
can you start
turn
for,
that spigot really quickly
telling
when
everyone
it's
a little bit
working
about
or not
what's it,
working? Boy, that would be
what's it
valuable
like
to
to
me.
be a CMO at a hospital and research
You know what?
institution?
I
I'm
think
curious, what are some of the things that
it always
that
focuses on
organization asks of the marketing team?
whatever
Yeah,
the AI talk
what it's
is.
like to be
How
a
can I
CMO
use it
in
to
healthcare,
get done
especially
more
at the
with
University of
less,
Chicago
be more
Medicine,
productive,
based here in
save
Chicago. So
costs?
welcome everyone. Thank you.
And I'm waiting for
It's
the talk
one
about
of the most
when does it
freeing
get to the point where
experiences in the
we're
sense
able to do
that we're the
things we
largest
weren't even able to
industry
imagine
in
that
the world.
will have a bigger
In this
impact,
country, we're
potentially a
20%
bigger
of our
impact
GDP.
on our
And
relationship with the
being
customer.
able to have a
But
small
right now,
part
it's
in the
always
way
more
that we can try to
focused, and maybe that's
transform the way that
understandable
healthcare
around being
works,
more
especially
efficient,
from the marketing-based
saving costs,
standpoint.
and being able to do
You
more
don't get to say
with
that every
less.
day.
But
And
it's
that's
more
what we're trying to
incremental
do
than
here at
transformational. transformational today.
Right.
What we heard.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, I mean, AI on the whole can be potentially, obviously, transformational, but so far, everything we've ever seen on AI, unless there's an exception that I'm just missing, has been incremental. I mean, it's not bad. It's not a bad thing. It just is as it is. I mean, I think from my standpoint, the thing that, and it's partially because I'm so right-brained, is
And
Look, AI, I'd like to see AI be capable of handling, and it really kind of goes to what you said a little earlier, Rebecca, the scale, but with
for those of you in the
Vision test?
an improvement in how to understand the emotional state and the interaction and the ability to further engage with an actual human customer, meaning understand the state of that human being's activity and behavior. So I don't, AI hasn't done that yet, and I don't, not, it directly will never do it, but it can aid in that.
Well, you know, Paul, there's the old adage, 50% of marketing doesn't work. We just don't know which 50%. And that's a thing that I'd love for them to address. What better insights can we get? Because we have the ability to capture more and also process more.
And the other side, though, is it has to, and that's why agentic is actually so important too, is it has to operate in real time.
I'm still waiting to get
or as close to real time as humanly possible, let's just say.
Or even better, be proactive and predictive.
Right. Yeah. I am so skeptical of that really happening. I've seen it happen on very rare, momentary little things, but doing it at scale, really, it's almost impossible because human behavior changes so dramatically, so quickly.
How does Data Cloud, sort of play it?
The other piece I'd love to see is how does marketing change in a world where I'm doing my searches don't start on Google, they start in a GPT engine.
That's how I work.
Since day one.
Nicely put there, Liz.
How do we create a experience?
Just use Cologuard.
Wait a second. Colonoscopy is the best nap I've ever had, so I'm not sure if that's true.
Yeah, just use Cologuard.
Medical pharmacy refills. How do you create that
So I thought you all had good answers. But to me, what would excite me as a CMO would be to change the perception of my brand in the market and to really impact the customer experience. And I think you hit on something really important, which is I need to be able to do that close to real time, right? Because so much of the bad stuff that happens fast too. And I haven't been able to react to that in a comprehensive way. I don't care what technology it requires to do that. I want to hear about how I can do that much more effectively.
Again, I will always go back when it comes to the technological aspect of that, even though it wasn't AI, is to go back to Thunderhead. Best product I've ever seen in my life. Shout out to Ray Gerber on that one. And it did literally what we're talking about. I literally did that. And it didn't use AI at all. It could be, with AI, it could be great. And the irony, of course, it was Interaction Studios of Salesforce's base. There's a long story about why it ended up not being that we won't go into here, but now they're just an acquired product by Medallia, who has completely destroyed it, basically. Shame.
Hey, great to see you, Ben. One other thing, and I guess I'll throw in my corporate narrative. You have all these agents that are going to be engaging, but are they telling the story you want them to tell consistently? Because people can't do that, and the agents are only going to be as good as the people that
I got to ask you about AI
program them or configure them, and how well will they be able to build that voice so you build that brand awareness and all that kind of stuff. Right now, it's a mess. If you can build crap at scale, you're just going to get a really messy brand.
By the way, I love what Ben just said about marketers or IT folks coming back from conferences like this and telling the CMO what they can do without basically saying, well, what is it really going to do for me, or what is it going to do for us? Not just
you guys are going to build an
nice shiny IT like that.
Shouldn't be able to have to call us back to confirm.
Ben is very practical.
Or we should just text you.
That's what he just said there.
Let's just handle that via SMS, or if you want to call us, great.
All right, so those of us that were at Pega last week, we're listening to a conversation with a customer. Compare and contrast this to last week.
It's hard to, because I actually haven't heard much of what he said. Like, so, given we've been talking over him, so I don't know.
Funny, unscripted.
Exactly.
Right. The audience obviously likes him a lot better than what happened.
It was an unscripted, it felt at least like an unscripted conversation.
Again,
this is really exciting.
Power of
I think
Salesforce
what
on
you're
that
gonna see
one.
throughout
They
the rest of the
always do that.
presentation is a lot of the new capabilities of Marketing Cloud Next. And this is very exciting for me as a marketer. We've been using a lot of these products internally. I think that's one of the advantages of the whole dog fooding concept. We get to see these first. I couldn't be more excited. And to give you a grounder on what our strategy is with Marketing Cloud Next, I want to invite up on stage Steve Hammond, who runs our Marketing Cloud products. Thank you, Steve.
Mario.
We went right into the walk and talk.
We are so excited about what we're delivering with Marketing
You can't
Cloud
get up on the
Next.
stage. There's
But
no stairs.
Before we dive in, I want to give you a glimpse of some of the incredible innovation. And we're not just talking about a few features. We're
Yes,
talking
sir,
about a
Bob.
whole
Totally
new
agree. And
era
the only
of
time you'll ever
marketing
hear me say I
technology. Let's go ahead and
totally
roll the
agree
film.
with you, by the way.
Okay, demo.
By the way, Alan, what is scaled crap?
Oh, I was saying that if you're not, agentic can scale things, at a pace that humans can't. But if it's not good stuff, then you're just scaling crap. That's what I said before.
Just wanted a little definition.
All right, I hope you could feel the energy for all the
Could you make it a
wonderful
little louder,
things that we're
Brent?
putting into Marketing Cloud Next.
No.
And what we've done is we've
Wow.
taken the best technologies from marketing and we've combined them with the best
There
technologies
you go.
and the
Messages
most
into conversation.
recent
I'm
technologies
liking
from
at least the
AI
trigger
to
points.
give you new abilities in marketing that
trigger
have
points.
never been available before. In fact, as we look at how you've engaged with our products over the years, you've given us your trust. And with that trust, together, we've sent more than 2 trillion messages per year out of our systems. And
So
behind
this
that,
is what drives
over
me crazy. These are
200
metrics that
trillion decisions
may
are
not
made to
matter
decide what
in
to
it.
send and
What are
when
the
to send
metrics
it.
that we need to care about in an agentic world? And these are old school metrics, the number of messages, and that's just, so what?
Highly engaging messages and engagement with your customers. That is an incredible opportunity.
Tell me new
This
metrics.
is exactly what we're delivering. So with Marketing Cloud, what we've done is we've taken 9 acquisitions that we've made over the years. These best-in-class acquisitions that really stand out, that deliver for you mission-critical success in marketing. And we combine them. We've pulled them
That's only
together
4.
into a microservices that allow us to build a completely modernized Marketing Cloud, which means that we put it together into one unified native application on top of the Salesforce platform. And what that gives us is the ability to be able to connect the customer experience and also your teams. Your marketing organization now has the reach beyond the traditional marketing channels. Your marketing organization now has the ability to be able to connect seamlessly into commerce, into service, into sales, across the full customer journey. This is absolutely exciting. And it started with what Ariel pointed out earlier, the ability to pull together that full customer profile on top of Data Cloud. We've built Marketing Cloud
Oh, I
Next
missed
on
that
top of
silo
Cloud.
data was gone.
But on
Thanks,
top
Ben.
of that, we've
I didn't
also
know that.
built the personalization engine.
That's
All
all.
right.
Every
Personalization
time,
engine that you know
they
and
show
love that's helped to power
sandwich, or whatever they
personalized
call
web
that
experiences,
slide, it
personalized
just reminds me
email,
that
and many other
they
forms
have
of engagement.
very distinct
And we've
silos.
rebuilt that on top of Data Cloud. We've made it now possible for this personalization engine, the
Man,
same
the
one
end
that
of
you use for
silos, that
marketing,
feels great.
to work
Let's
in your
take
commerce
that home.
situation. The same
What I'd like to
engine
see,
can
I'd
give
like to see
recommendations.
one
That same engine can show up for your service
conversation
teams when they pick
that
up a
wasn't
call,
some sort of
and they open
cross-sell
up
or
the
upsell
call
or
dialog,
sale.
They can see the full history
That
of
was
Yeah,
just
this
all
like
does feel like
interactions
a
that
sales
individual
pitch. It
across
does. The
marketing
whole thing
channels.
feels like a
They
sales
can
pitch.
also
Well,
provide
I just,
recommendations of how to have that
if the
conversation
actual
in a more meaningful
personalized
way.
interaction, it's
The
not,
same thing
you
with your
know my
sales teams.
shoe size,
You're carrying your
I mean,
marketing,
big deal,
engagement, your profiles,
right?
your offers,
Personalized to
everything
me
across
literally
the full
means
customer
what
journey
we've
with this
tried to
next
call,
generation of
didn't
Marketing
catch
Cloud.
on as well,
And we've also
humanized.
simplified. And that simplification is
Not
beautiful because
just,
I know, I've
you
been
know
one of
my,
I've been
you
working
know,
with
you can
thousands
read
of
my
you and
data
your companies
that
around
I've
the
entered
world.
because I bought a
One of the
shirt or I
hardest
bought a
things
pair
with
of pants or I
marketing
bought
is
a
all the
pair of
different
shoes.
technologies you
That's
have to work
not
with. The
personalized. I mean,
integrations,
it's
the way you can move data
individual,
around.
yeah, it's
We've
my
minimized all
size,
that.
my
We've
shoes.
lowered the
but
total cost of ownership when
I
you're doing
just, I
marketing
just wish
by
somebody
reducing
would do this.
integrations.
And you know what? The
We've made it
irony is,
easier
I
for you to be able
bet
to
you
use these
with what they
products
have
together,
here, they could do that.
simplified the interface. And we've
And they
also
can
added agentic capabilities, so you can create campaigns.
From a practical
you can create
perspective, I
audience
think
segments,
Liz
you
is
can create
right
content,
talking about
all with the
bringing the
latest natural
acquisitions
languages
together, but I
for
really
agentic
want to hear
interactions.
about for customers
how we
today
built
that
it
are
is
using
also
Exact
important.
Target, that are
We built
using
this
Pardot, that have
technology
data,
with your customer in
those
mind,
existing
making sure that
siloed
your whole
applications, what is the
organization
path?
has a view of the
Unified
customer,
Marketing
no matter
Cloud,
where they are
right? How
in
does
the
that,
customer
how do I
journey.
bring my
Every
data
part of your
over? How do I
business,
bring my
marketing,
processes
service,
over?
sales,
All
commerce,
those
all of
investments
your
that I've
organization
made
has
and
the same
understanding
view
how
of the
those different
customer.
apps work
And on top of that,
and running
because it's the
campaigns
same
with
data,
them
the
and
same
running
view of the
interactions
customer,
with them,
you also
how
have
do
the
I
same
move
metrics.
them to
You don't have to
Marketing
go
Cloud
back and forth
next?
across the business and try to justify, are we looking at the same data?
I think
It's
I agree with
all
you,
the same
Rebecca,
data now.
in the sense of I don't
And
even know
because it's the same system, and we've
what the
modernized the way
path
that we
is
built it with microservices
to where I
and a
am
very
now to
modern
what they're
approach to the
talking about here. I
architecture.
mean, because I'm not even sure
It means
how
that when
much
your
of what I'm
customer's
using
engaging
I
with your
can
brand, no matter
apply
where they are,
or
they
what
can
that
have an
transformation looks
engagement
like.
that is
Yeah, I
meaningful to
agree.
them. We can trigger a response.
Well, to your point way
Again, we all
earlier,
know
it
this
goes
from
to
the marketing
outcomes.
side. We can
Everything
trigger a
goes to
message. We can
outcomes,
trigger
right?
an
I mean,
experience in
work
a
back from the
website.
outcome and you'll
But
be
how do you do the
fine,
same
And
thing in a
I
service
just,
engagement, in a sales engagement?
nobody,
That
well,
is now
look, I'm not
entirely
blaming
possible
Salesforce.
using the
Nobody
same
does that.
profile and using the
The
same
closest we
underlying
actually probably
orchestration
heard,
engine. This is exciting.
technologically
And on
was
top of
actually
that,
at
we
Pega
also
last week.
combine the value
They kind of worked from
of
the
using
middle
B2B
instead of
and
from the
B2C in the
outcome
same
back.
application.
They worked from the
We no
middle
longer have
back
to make
end
a
forward,
choice. Do I
but
use
they
account
got
engagement
closer
or engagement?
because
We've
they were
now brought them
defining
together in the
use
same
cases
application
and
interface
they were focused
with
on those.
personalization, with marketing
They
intelligence,
went a little heavy
everything working
technical,
together
but
in unison. This
even
is
so.
really exciting.
And again,
Now, I
Hey,
think
shout out
probably
to
one of the
our
most
buddy Ron
important
Miller.
questions you have now is great, Steve.
Good to see you
Right.
here,
Now that I've
Ron.
introduced
Thanks.
a new technology,
and Ron, you're right.
how am
That's
I
I
going
literally
to
was going to
use
say
this? How am I
exactly
going
that,
to access
which is
this? How am I going to
Salesforce
be able to
is
help my teams
doing
with
a
this?
lot here that
When we built this new
technically
technology,
is
we had that exact
really,
thing
really
in mind.
potentially
We know
interesting.
that you've spent
It's just we
millions,
can't
if not
figure out the
hundreds of millions of
applicability,
dollars on your
direct
implementations, on your
applicability.
audience segments,
Well,
on your
Bob
journeys, on your
put up something
orchestration,
about
and we've kept that in mind
measurements,
because
but
what
he
we've
was talking
created
about measuring
is not
how
a
effective the
migration.
AI is. But that's
Instead, we
how
created what we
effective the
call
AI is in trying
convergence.
to
We're
tackle
bringing these
existing
technologies
metrics
together
for
for you,
marketing
which means
success. I want to see
initially,
new
when you want to get your
metrics for
teams up to
marketing
speed and you're
success because
used to using
if
one
we're scaling
application,
our
they
old
can start
model,
using the
but we've
new
got transformed
application
technology, we
environment in
can't use the
parallel. We
same
keep the
metrics. And it's what
campaigns in
Paul
sync.
said. We have
We
different outcomes
synchronize your
that we're
audience
looking to
segments.
achieve. So
We synchronize your contacts. Everything runs in sync. And then when your teams get comfortable, at the time of your choice, you can make the switch over to the new UI. You can get comfortable with it and then make the move over. And you can have access to all this incredible new functionality. We've designed this new application with you and for you.
Not to mention
And
that
this is the next
attention
generation
is
of marketing cloud.
increasingly
We're very excited about this.
elusive, and the ads you
The
used to
last
buy
thing
in
I'll
search
highlight
aren't getting seen
is that
anymore.
these new technologies all working together
Right.
Well,
across
the other
Salesforce
side
platform
is, that whole
are what
thing
will help
separating
you
signal from
together with
noise,
us
and
to
I'm
continue to
still
deliver
maintaining
those amazing
there's actually a
messages,
lot
those
of good things
amazing
out there.
communications
So
and ways
separating,
that you have to
you have to
transmit
separate signal
more than
from
2 trillion
signal
a
as
year.
well as noise,
And move away from the do not reply.
and that's why
and
attention
move
is
to the next generation
more
marketing,
difficult to
which is
capture.
to have conversational
Looks like
marketing.
Liz is seeing some
Moving from 2
agreement
trillion messages
in the
to
room
2
there
trillion conversations.
about what he's saying.
Thank you.
Interesting. Thanks for that, Liz.
Thank you, Steve. That was fantastic. Okay, who's ready to start
Not a
seeing
good
some of
one.
this new product? Okay.
I do like Ariel.
So
He's a
there's
very
4
casual
areas that
speaker.
we're
You
gonna
don't
talk
feel
about
like
today
you're
where there's
being
some
talked
really
to
exciting
or like
innovation
talked
and
with,
how
and I
AI
actually
agents
like
are
that.
really fundamentally changing
Well, he's also a
how we do
CMO at
marketing.
Salesforce,
The
giving
first one we're
visibility
gonna
for a
talk about
change.
is how AI agents, how Agentforce
The only other one who
can
ever had
change
it
the
was
way
Sarah
we build
Franklin
and
a little
launch
bit.
campaigns.
And that was it.
No, there was a
And
couple.
much more
There,
effective
what was
once
the
these campaigns
Bashimi?
launch. So I'm excited to bring up on
Stephanie.
stage Prod
Yeah,
from our
but
marketing
hers would
product
like
team to tell us more.
every rare now and then. But Sarah was up there fairly frequently.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
there are
then now-
stairs.
Worked in marketing cloud
Oh
product
my God! I
management
thought he just couldn't get
for
up there because he
over
had
6
bad
years.
knees.
I have yet to run into a marketer who's actually happy about how quickly they can launch their marketing campaigns. You
Why would he
spend
be
so much
unhappy?
time aligning your teams and doing all this busy work just to get an idea off the ground. But it doesn't have to be that way. Agentforce can help you launch your campaigns in
the
days.
first time they're talking about different outcomes. This is great.
Campaign
so.
creation in Marketing Cloud Next allows you to collaborate with Agentforce and quickly generate those campaigns, those briefs, and so much more. Campaign creation can help you launch campaigns that span touch points and your channels. Agentforce can
You
act
see, Brett, that's why,
autonomously
and
on
John,
your
that's why
behalf,
events are important.
acting on
In-person
your
events.
business data,
You get
your
those comments.
metadata, and your workflows. But you shouldn't just take my word for
Simone,
it.
you're on a
I'd
roll.
love to tell you about one of our amazing customers. Ford is one of the most iconic automotive manufacturers in the
Didn't
world.
they just have that?
And Ford Pro, one of the business units, they deal with fleet management and telematics. They had a key challenge. With connected vehicles came this higher expectation of real-time, relevant, proactive engagement. Ford Pro knew they had to evolve. Agentforce is helping Ford Pro transform all the data they're getting from their connected vehicles into real-time, personalized engagement that's driving customer loyalty and increasing revenue. Now, I'm going to show you
So
what this
that's
looks
the
like
problem.
in the future of
There's
marketing.
a merge between marketing and sales that they're
Before we do
just
that,
kind of
we're
glossing
going to have a
over.
little detour.
And marketing will change, and they're not talking about how
I see
marketing
some
needs to change.
smiles
with
around here.
agents.
This is a very familiar
Well,
They're
I'd
really
say-
talking
for a
more
lot of
about
us,
sales
right?
and conversion than
This
than-
is marketing cloud
about
engagement.
marketing.
We have spent years in here building campaigns, building our journeys. It is really, really, really powerful. But the process of getting your teams in here and aligned and creating those journeys, creating those campaigns, it's a little manual. Let me
Liz
show
has
you
the
what
best
the
ears,
future
man. She
gonna look
picks
like.
up things everywhere,
We're
all
gonna
the
start
time.
off
And that's
really in
why she's
Slack.
our floor correspondent.
This is where
She's
my team,
amazing.
they're already in
A
here. They're already
roving reporter.
collaborating.
Absolutely
we are in
amazing.
a channel that's for a new product launch. And someone
So
asked us to
alert.
help kicking off the campaign. Instead of looking at my to-do list with some existential dread of adding yet another thing, I'm going to ask the campaign coordinator agent to help me out right here. And what it's doing, and this is really important here, is that it's leveraging all the historical data that we have inside Slack. It's looking at past Slack channels. It's looking at linked materials, right? This is a really big deal because what that means is that we're not starting from scratch. You're building upon your past successes, the lessons learned, all
was
the
my newsletter
high-value
last week.
assets you've already built out. They're being pulled right into the Slack canvas. And just like that, we've got ourselves a campaign brief. This
How does that campaign brief
is
align
the
with the corporate
future
narrative?
of
Where's that
campaign
check?
building. It's
Or
smarter,
they can just build anything
it's
they want.
faster,
And
and it's
scale.
entirely in your control, right? We've got creative, we've got our audience direction in here, and my team can start collaborating with me live inside the actual canvas itself. They're going to start dropping in things like performance data, visual assets. If there's workbooks, they can link all that information right in here. And if we're missing something, Agentforce can help us out with that too. So I didn't see campaign goals in here as I was scanning through my brief. So I'm going
This
to
is
call
cool.
on the campaign coordinator agent.
I was just thinking the same
And
thing.
I'm going to have
This is
it
cool.
spin up some campaign goals for us. What's important about what I'm asking it to do here is that it's using the context of
that.
everything it sees inside the Slack canvas to generate these campaign goals
So he
for us.
talked about two things. One is what I call not a
These look
blank
pretty
piece of
good to me,
paper,
so we're gonna
and
keep
you
them.
shouldn't
The
start
next
every
thing I'm
time with a
gonna ask you to
campaign with
do
that blank
is
piece
to
of paper.
take
The other
all
is
the information
context.
we have here for the campaign
You shouldn't
brief,
start with that. The
and we're going to
context.
use it
I will
to
say
set
that
up a campaign for us
most
in
of the good
Marketing Cloud
AI
Next. I'm gonna
platforms
have it
keep
create a
context pretty well.
segment-triggered flow
The
that's gonna
worst
kick
is
off in 90
Copilot, I have
days.
to say.
This is really cool.
Let's hop
I
over
like this.
into Marketing Cloud Next. This is the future of Marketing
I think
Cloud.
I know what's going on. I think people are using the
And you
goal,
notice the
their
agent has
campaign,
brought
annoy
over
John Reed.
everything
They're literally
we asked
typing
it to
that in.
do right into Marketing Cloud Next. I've got
You know what?
a
It's
brief.
funny. That's the context.
I've got
happening.
details related to my
That's the
audience.
context.
I've got
Key-
base
the-
orchestration ready
and
to kick
actually,
off.
what they're not
And
showing
I
is the
still
screen that
have
says
the
we're veering
context
from the
of the
objective of
conversation we're
annoying
having
John
in
Reed.
Slack.
We need
In
to
the
get back on
channel.
track.
Zoom over with me into the Marketing Cloud
Seems to be working.
Next campaign record. It looks like magic, but I'd love to show you what's happening behind the scenes.
Just don't call it auto
This is
magic,
how
please. Don't do
to
that.
stop you from
If they
having
call
to
it hyper
swivel chair
personal,
between
then we're
different
also in
systems.
trouble.
We're
Hyper
looking
personal
at
auto magic.
Agent
Ugh.
Agent Builder,
And it is
Specifically,
forward,
we're
so
gonna look at the
automagic.
marketing campaigns topic. I want to show you what's happening here behind the scenes.
That was the first thing. This is the first thing I like.
I do want to point out that
So
automating
clicking into
campaigns
this,
like
we're
this,
gonna look
I
at
think
the
is a
topics
great
actions,
use case,
because
but it doesn't
what
mean
we've
it's a
asked it to
brilliant
do
campaign.
here
I just
is
want
to
to
generate a
point that out.
campaign
Still,
automatically,
AI is still AI,
right?
Yeah,
You
well,
can get
hopefully
inside
every
Well, but John,
and humans are still humans. So
natural
there
language
well,
you go.
John,
you're
that's
providing to
the good
this
point is that
agent
if
and giving it
if
instructions
this
on, I
application
would
can
like you
help
to
me
draft the
make
subject line
it more
based off
on
what you're seeing
brand for
inside the
how
campaign.
for what we've already established, that's the
Now let's
goal.
hop back
Is
into
it going to make it more creative?
That's a big
No,
deal,
but is it going to make
because
it more
this is one
consistent with what
platform,
we
right?
want
You're
as
not
an
swivel chairing
organization?
between
That
different
would be
systems.
great.
Well,
You know,
one of the reasons I'm emphasizing
The
that, though,
campaign
Alan, is that
orchestration, or the
this
summary
isn't going
of
to
what's
make it
happening
more
with orchestration
creative.
is really important,
You
right?
say
Because this
no,
is
but a
how
lot of
the
AI
rubber hits the road in terms
evangelists
of
say
how your
yes,
messaging gets
and
into your customers.
I just
Why
wanted
don't
to
we
point
show
out that
you
great
what's powering
campaigns
this?
are built on great,
This
brilliant
is
ideas.
flow.
We can't
Well,
forget that.
the other interesting
Engine
thing,
behind
if
the next
AI
generation of
is
Salesforce
actually what
Marketing
it
Cloud.
purports to
And at the
be,
top,
so to
a
speak,
familiar thing. It's
um,
your audience.
if
It's a
that
segment that we asked you to
campaign,
spin
this
up for us.
campaign, let's say,
And
doesn't
below,
do too
we've
well,
got an A/B
it should
test.
be able to take
There are
that into
things that
account
we're
the next
doing
time.
to flow to make it
Well,
feel
but
more
look, this
welcoming for
this
our
can make a below average
We've got
marketer
things like a
into an
baked-in
average marketer.
native A/B test that you can run.
It can't make an
We've got
average
our
marketer
decision
into a
splits.
great marketer.
You
That's
can
the
decision
creativity
on
that
any
John
of the
was talking
data
about.
that lives
Right.
inside the
This
Salesforce
campaign is
platform.
if they bring
And finally,
in
the
60-second
channels,
ad
engagement channels
with
that we
Matthew
have.
McConaughey
And
Woody
from
Harrelson.
They're all
and
baked
from
right
that
into
future
here.
of work perspective,
This looks pretty good to me.
maybe
So we're gonna
it's
slide
given
back
me
over
more
into
time to
our
do those
campaign
creative
ready to
things as
activate
well.
here.
So that's
Yeah.
the
Let me do
other
a quick
big
refresh because
aspect of
I wanted
that.
to pull all the latest information.
That's what I
back
was
from
trying to get at.
before.
If you get rid of
Yep.
the
So
grunt
looks good
work,
to me. So we're about
right?
to
What can you
activate
do with
this.
on the creative
But
side
before
with
I
your best
do,
talent? If you shouldn't have your
let's
best talent working
recap
on
where
stuff
we
that
just
can be
started off.
automated.
We were
Right.
in Slack where the teams already
So,
collaborated.
which is the other side here.
Then we
The other
co-created
thing to
Agent
remember
Force.
here is
That's our
you're
AI
really talking about
partner for
AI
campaign
in Slack.
planning, the segment creation,
That's
content
part of this
creation.
pitch. It's not just
And
AI
finally,
does
we
this.
synced all
It's
that
AI works in
information
Slack
into
this way.
Marketing Cloud Next. And so we
Collaboration.
activate.
Dave,
It's a big deal, though, Paul.
where's
That's
Dave
the
Smith?
power of Salesforce,
Yeah.
Slack, and Agent Force.
A side
It's an
note here
intelligent,
is we're
unified
about
platform
45 minutes
that's
in,
gonna help
and honestly, it doesn't feel like it's
at
been that
Full
long.
Pro
No.
launch their
No,
campaigns that are faster,
right
smarter,
here,
and
I mean,
more
I'm
connected than ever
what I was
before.
looking for. I actually am
Let's go ahead
hearing
here
some
and
of it,
activate.
right? Which not to the level I'm looking for,
We just went
but I'm not really.
from
I shouldn't really
idea
expect it.
to execution.
But there is
Now,
a
I'm
underlying.
pretty
I'll call it a
confident our campaigns are great. And it's gonna drive
interlaced
a lot of traffic to the
thread
4 Pro website.
around conversation
To talk to you about how we're
and,
gonna
you know,
engage
in the
customers
context
that are on the
of
4 Pro website.
marketing
I'd
and
love to introduce
campaign.
our next
But
speaker,
conversation
Devin.
is much more prominent here in multiple ways than any other one I've seen to date anywhere.
Thank you,
But then
Prasanna,
again, it's
and
the only
hello,
one I've seen on
everybody.
marketing.
My name is Janani Narayanan, and I head product in the data solutions teams, which means it is my team's responsibility to build
look
out
at that
data
path.
platforms and digital platforms
Just like
that
a
power our
DUI
marketing
path
automation engine, as well as a lot of our
on the
customer
carpet.
activations such as email platform, paid media, and the one that powers all of our AI agents, one of which we're going to talk about today. But before I get started, I want to reflect on this statement you see up there. You cannot build relationships with do not reply. Now, as marketers, we've gotten used to certain defaults, haven't we? And one of them is this idea that customer outreach always has to be one-sided. So from a customer's perspective, think about getting an email that says do not reply. That is like someone walking up to you, making a statement, turning around and leaving before you even get a chance to respond. And that's not a conversation. That is a broadcast from the 1970s. So it's no wonder
That was
our
explicit.
industry average email click-through rate is only
1970s?
1.4%.
I know.
When
I'm
did you
just
start?
like, where'd that come
That's
from?
gotta be
Email
a
didn't
way.
exist in the
Now,
1970s.
with Agent Force,
But
you
broadcast-
can
Names like
engage
Edward
every
R. Murrow?
customer with a two-way
Oh, no,
Good
he's
luck
a-
conversation.
tonight.
You heard about our Marketing Cloud Net's GA capabilities of personalization decisioning, as well as web curation. Using that, you
Walter
can turn every
Cronkite.
channel into a live conversation, delivering the right message at the right
That was
moment,
a
like
very
never
strange
before.
way to put it.
In fact, one of our customers, Edux,
But I do
I
like
hope I
it.
got the pronunciation right, they were able to increase their payments with two-way engagement up to a 40%.
When can we retire the
look at how all of
conversations
this
term?
works.
No customers are looking, or prospects are
Now,
looking
it
for
all
conversations.
begins
They're
when
looking
you
for
define
context
a
to help them
role
make a buying
for the agent.
decision.
It can be any role, but in this case, the agent is set up to handle all website.
Well, I mean, I know where they're coming
customers
from, but
24/7.
you're more
And then
right
you
than
need to
they are.
define
But
the
I know where
actions.
they're
In
coming
this
from
case,
on this.
the agent can
They're
recommend
basically
products,
saying it's
answer
not a
product
one-way
questions,
street,
complete
and
orders,
it's an
view orders
engagement. It's
history,
really
the
they're
entire
talking
spectrum.
to
And then
engagement
you have
more
to
than
establish some
conversation. I guess
guardrails,
is more
which
like.
are
I don't
very
even think I want
critical.
engagement. I just want
Guardrails
information.
define
I don't want to
when
talk
the
to a
agent
brand. I
should
never
escalate
want to talk to a
human
brand.
Not in
in case
marketing.
the conversation goes
On
off
service,
track
I always
or if
want
customer
engagement.
sen-
Well, in
customer
service, no, but we're
sentiment
not talking about
deteriorates.
service. We're talking about marketing.
So
I
the
don't.
outcome
If,
is that the agent has to
I'm
bring
not
a
even talking to
conversation
them.
with
I'm
the
talking to
customer.
a
They get
third party,
offered
which is
up
either
a
a search engine
promotion,
or now it's
they
GPT.
accept it, they
I
make
just
the
want
purchase,
information.
everybody is happy in one seamless conversation.
They are leaning.
And
Yeah,
that
they
is
are.
the power of modern marketing.
Well, yeah, Liz, because
Now,
that's
there
the
is one
Marketing
small
Cloud
problem.
next announcement they're
It
making
is all
today.
sitting
So,
on a slide, but we love demos. So why
yeah,
don't we bring it all to life
the press
in a
release is
brilliant
out.
demo? And I want to invite our demo drivers of the day, Dylan and Irene. Let's
There's
give it up for
Liz.
them.
You see her?
Oh, she's right up front.
She's literally
Yes,
on
look
her
at
phone
her.
right now.
All right, so let's get
Straight.
into it.
DC.
There she is.
Oh,
Look
there's
behind
Cheryl
her.
Kingston,
Behind her.
too.
Is
She's
the
messaging us
Code
right
Pros
now.
automotive
She's
website.
literally replying to our
And as you
email.
can see, it is very
I saw
modern,
Cheryl
sleek,
Kingston too.
visually stunning.
She asked me to
Yeah,
block
and there's
For a
Kate. I
customer
think
like
I just
me,
saw Kate
who
Leggett
is a
quickly out of the
business
corner of my eye.
user,
But
and I am in here shopping for a fleet of vehicles for my
is Kate
business.
there?
And I have a straight set of requirements. A, it has to make
You're
my
red.
budget. B, it has to be fuel efficient, and there has to be limited downtime. So for these straightforward set of requirements, I'm spoiled for choices on the website. There are way too many trims and packages and models to
walk
sift
in, I'll see
through,
if it was Kate.
and it can get overwhelming. Now, I'm in here for some sound guidance and a fast recommendation because I have to move fast. So what does a customer do in this situation? They leave your website and turn to a ChatGPT or a Gemini or your favorite LLM flavor of the day for
Claude.
advice. So what has ended up happening here is you have not lost just any visitor, you have lost a prospect in the moment of high purchase intent. And that is after you have spent millions or thousands of dollars, depending on the scale of your business, in paid search and
Maybe
SEO and
hundreds
media
of
to
tens.
bring them onto your website in the first place. As a marketer,
Yeah, so
that's gotta
Alan,
hurt.
I don't think they're
Now, in
totally
this
far
case,
away from you,
Full
even
Pro,
though you don't
they
like the
lost
conversation
customer's
word.
contacts,
I mean,
questions, their
they're basically
intentions,
talking
and
about a
perhaps
scenario
even
where
the customer
they send you
themselves,
something and you
because
say, well,
what is stopping
instead of
an LLM
just getting an
recommending
email, you
a
say, can I
competitor?
have it in Medium? And instead of
We
no
have to fix
reply,
that.
they reply, the agent replies and said,
Introducing
yeah,
Web
you can have it
Agents,
in Medium, blah,
powered
blah,
by
blah.
Agent
I think
Force.
where it gets challenging
Now, this is
is when
not
you
your
say to
ordinary
the agent,
chatbot.
well, do you have
It
it
is
in my
also
usual
not a
preferred
regular
size?
conversational
Then
agent. It
the
is a
agent
lot
has
more
to
than
go
that.
and get the right
We will
data and know that
transform
usually you
your
wear
entire
medium, but
digital
sometimes you
.com
wear large in
experience,
certain brands and
like
blah, blah,
we'll see
blah.
shortly.
And,
So
that's
I'm
where it gets
on the
really
website.
tricky.
I'm going to strike up a conversation with
I
the
at
agent.
least like the fact that they're
And
addressing
I'm going to ask,
the change in
look,
how
looking
people are
for a
trying
new
to
line of
get
fleet
information
vehicles
Right.
that
and
handles
see
well in the city and can
brands.
take on
So
Chicago
this is
winters.
better than the other.
So let's hit enter. Now, personally, what I want is a bold red Mustang,
Not a red Mustang, a
convertible,
bold
top
one. That's
down,
cool.
you get the picture.
That's
But
Colderized
Dylan
Mustang.
here reminds me that I'm in here
Is there
shopping
any
for my
other kind of
business,
Mustang?
not for my impending midlife crisis.
Bold one, a cold one,
Something to look forward to other than a
and an
colonoscopy.
old one.
All right. So we have the response here, and I'll get to the response in a bit.
Colonoscopies are getting a lot of
But
laughs
as you can
today.
see, the website has instantly adapted to a new tone, a new layout.
Only
as
here,
well as
not when it's
content.
time.
And it has dynamically rendered, and it is recommending something like a Ford F-150 Lightning. No Mustang, but I'll take it. Now, how this does is using a feature called web curation. There's a lot to unpack here. So I'm going to pause the demo briefly to explain what is going on behind the scenes. Now, Agent Force can tap into all your product data.
You know what's interesting about
whether it is sitting
this,
in a CMS system
in terms of
or in
like
a Snowflake
past existing
instance,
products that didn't use
regardless,
AI,
we're able to bring that
Coveo,
into the data cloud. Zero
literally
copy,
what
meaning
they
you do not
did,
have to
all of
duplicate the
this.
data.
It's interesting
So
how
Agent
much of
Force
this
in
has actually
case,
been
let's
done,
say
but
it has
just
access
not
to the
done
vehicle
this
specs,
way.
inventory details, product descriptions, marketing creatives, branding blurbs,
Coveo
all
did-
kinds of structured and
It would
unstructured
literally
content
change your,
alike.
if you had
Agent Force
Coveo
has access to.
installed, on the website,
Now, when you
it
hit
would
the agent
literally
with a
follow
question
your
such
behavior and
as,
change your screens
"Show me a
accordingly
vehicle that can
while it was
handle
going on.
Chicago
So,
winters."
or if you went to
It
search,
simply doesn't just
because it
look
was more
for matching
search
keywords.
oriented,
What it does, it tries to
it
understand the
would
intent behind the
look
question.
at your personal profile
And
and
through
your
a technique
information
called
and
RAG, or
accordingly
retrieval
do it.
augmented generation, it performs a
I'm
semantic
reading
search.
Ben's.
Now, all
Yeah,
these
that
elements
Yeah.
RAG, semantic
I don't know,
caused-
Ben. I think she probably got thrown out for
Agent
that.
Force is
Yeah,
trying to
and
get
Jess
the
We
Chisholm
can-
had an
we can
error
still
when
try.
that
relevant
happened.
content
We can
and
still
the
try,
response
though.
Yeah.
Liz
that
is up
also
for it.
rooted
Let's do
and
it.
grounded in your
I'm sure there would be
enterprise
no
data,
technical
not
issues.
off of the public internet, your trusted enterprise data. That emphasis is super critical to understand. And there's more. Agent Force also has access to all the real-time
this stuff
signals
is actually helpful.
on website engagement. For instance, as a user, have I been browsing through trucks? Have I been hovering around the F-150 Lightning product page? Have I been looking at EV specs? So it combines all of these signals and puts together a response and packs it off into an SDK using the web curation feature to then dynamically render the website to give you a new tone and layout that is relevant to the response that you see there. Now, I want to quickly highlight the response. So, Dylan, if you can highlight dual motor, 4x4, even though none of these exact words were part of the original question, you see them there because of the winter drivability intent. Now, why am I spending so much time explaining this? We spend a lot of time with our customers, and the number one question we get asked is, isn't this yet another smarter chatbot? Fair question, fair comparison. However, a chatbot is rules-based, and it is based off of decision trees. And the minute the user goes off script, the whole experience comes down crumbling. What you see here is not a chatbot, but more like having your top product expert available 24/7 on your website, meeting your customers where they are with what they need. Total game changer. All right.
I'm gonna take a bit of an issue with that. The top product expert's going to understand some nuances that the bot's not going to.
Before we wrap up.
But it is important to point out that it's not like traditional chatbots, though, and I'm going to give Salesforce, the credit for that. It's definitely not a traditional chatbot.
Now I'm convinced. I want to
There's an aspect of Gen AI that I found the most value with, and John, you talked about it, is what do you know about me? I like the fact that it knows me enough to help me narrow down questions or bring me context from of my context. This is all board's context. What about the buyer's context? And I know it's harder, but that's really, I think, that will be the transformation.
Well, so one of the suppositions I have, at least, I don't know, I assume it's the case, is if I say, let's say I use Claude or ChatGPT or whatever to do something, ask them some things and start getting feedback and going back and forth with them for a while, then I'm done. And the next day I go for a follow-up. If I don't find that same conversation, the context is gone. Here,
and that brings us
if I do exactly that and then I come back the next day, the context may not be gone, right? Meaning it's still there, right? They can go find the prior, which is actually a big deal. Because I know, I mean, I built out this personal health and fitness program that was pretty massive using ultimately Claude, who was the best. And I had limits, and it's just, I had to go and I had to figure ways around to get everything I needed and so on. Theoretically, if I was doing it in Agent Force, I could just continue the discussion with the Gen AI to get the results I need. And I think that's actually a big deal.
850,000 conversations.
One of the differences between Claude and ChatGPT, ChatGPT has the memory.
At Salesforce scale, not at
and so across conversations, I find myself saying, "Hey, didn't I talk about this before?" And it remembers.
See, yeah, Claude does not. Well, I used 5 different ones. It's just that Claude came up with this actually by far the most intelligent program. The other ones were not. Perplexity was pretty good. ChatGPT was horrible. The worst by far was Copilot.
To envision the future
by far, and it took hours on Copilot. It took minutes
look like.
seconds to minutes on the
And with
other.
that, we now have a booked test drive.
AI.
How
But
to
it's not
convert
it's
this
not
hot lead
truly
into a
unlimited
qualified customer.
memory though,
Let us
Alan.
invite
And
our
it's
SVP of
it's different
Product,
than
Marianne
what
Patel, who's
Agent
somewhere
Force has
here.
to offer
Right.
here, where
Marianne,
it has a
over to you.
database that can be updated
Thank you,
that is
Jeremy.
separate from the language model,
you,
because
Jeremy.
language models aren't designed to like
Marketers, every
remember
single
an
one of you
in-depth
has had the
history of
wonderful
individuals.
experience
It's not
of
how it
having
works.
a lead generation program
Not at this
that you
point in
poured your
time.
blood, sweat, and
Right.
tears into, and
I mean, if
didn't
you
get
ask
the
it something
ROI
from
that you
last
wanted.
week, sure, but if you
You
ask it something
focused
from
on
last
building the
year,
right content
probably
for the
not.
right
Right.
ICP, getting all the search clicks, and yet
I've been using projects,
sales
John.
dropped
It remembers
the
stuff from 6 months ago.
pass. At the end of the day, marketing champions.
Yeah, but it's not going to
Have you ever
remember it the way a
thought,
database
why
does. It's
am
not a
I
database.
No,
spending
absolutely.
so much
But
time on
that's
lead
just indicative
generation
of
if
where the
sales
where
is
it,
not even going
what's
to look
possible.
at what I'm doing? Yes? All right. Well, Agent
I already
Force
like
got
her
you covered,
conversation because she was
now
actually
you can
looking
give
at
every
the
single one
people
of
in the
your
audience and
prospects
talking to
the
them.
attention that they
A lot of this
deserve
walk and talk is just kind of
autonomously.
walking around,
Because
not
with
looking up.
lead generation,
He was talking to
Agent
them, which
Force
is really
is
cool.
qualifying these leads for you around the clock. Agent Force is agentic AI, so it's letting you
Ben's
have
on
real
fire.
two-way
Yeah.
conversations.
I
Yeah,
know,
Now,
Ben,
Business
but
these
Alone.
are not
you know
just
how much
qualified
time I'd
leads,
have
they
to
are
use to
meetings
do
booked
something
on
like that?
calendars with
The
reps.
idea is make it a little
And
easier
that
on me,
way,
not
we
harder.
are connecting sales and marketing together. The CEO of Assemble, he told us that what he loves about lead generation is that
Yeah, she got
nurtures have
applause
gone
on
up,
that line.
engagement has
Well,
gone
I
up.
don't think I've ever
Even
heard
better,
anybody
the
say something
sales team
about
is
sales that's
tremendously
good.
happy
So
because closed won opportunities are
I'd love
up
somebody to say
and
sales
cost
really does a
savings are
great
real.
job.
This is music
When was
to
the
my
last
Is that a
ears
time any
sales-
of
because
us
in my day
ever
job,
heard
I
that
run
one?
product for Sales Cloud.
Is it a sales
Why am I
qualified
at
lead or a
Connections?
marketing
It wouldn't
qualified
matter.
lead?
I built a
I
product
don't
for
care.
you
It's like I
so
never
that
have heard it.
sales and
In
marketing can
25
finally be
years of doing
partners
this, I don't think
again.
I've ever heard someone
To
say
show
something
you
nice
this,
about
I
sales.
want to bring back Dylan and Irene
Actually, I
to the
think I have a
stage. We're going to
one-on-one
jump
with
into a live demo
Marianne.
of how
Looking
humans
forward to that
and
now.
agents can work together. Alrighty, Ford Pro is the #1 commercial vehicle brand in the country. And they think fleet sales are incredibly important to them. That's why I'm showing you a fleet campaign right here. Now, what's great is that interest is high, but what kills my
I'm
inner
guessing if
marketing
you stood in
soul
front of
is
that crowd
these
with nobody else there
5,000 no
except the crowd and
responses
said
here.
sales sucks, you get a
How are
standing
we going to fix
ovation.
that? It's with Agent Force. This is how we get real impact to every
I
single
don't
one
think
of
she's
those.
going to
We're
try
gonna
that.
create an
No.
agent, a
That
lead
sales, then as much as
qualification
sales
right
can be
here
annoying, they
from
don't
the
deserve
campaign.
that either. They
When
don't
I
deserve
click
to
on
be
this,
the
I want you
punching
to look at
bag.
the screen. What do you not see? There's no code. There's no scripts, there's no prompts. This is guided configuration just for you as marketers. We're going to give the agent some nice qualifications, name, title,
It's so
all
funny.
of that
Every
good stuff.
startup I
And now
talk
we get
to
the
does
meat.
this, and
We have to add a
Salesforce is finally
description.
coming around to doing
Just like
this.
all of us humans, agents need to know what is their purpose in life.
So
And
I
the
wouldn't want to be
description
those
gives them their
startups. Then.
purpose, how they interact with prospects,
No, that's
and
they all
the actions
they all
should be
think about
taking.
it. It's a
And if
challenge.
you look at the very top there, we've assigned this agent to a user because all of you understand that gives you reporting, permissions, trust, visibility, all out of the box. The next step is we are going to teach this agent how to talk to our prospects. Now, I want
We're
you
going
to
to
think
make a
about, if
public
you had new
announcement,
messaging
Brent.
today, how
There
would you
is
go
no
about it?
happy
You
hour
would go
today.
manually update countless
Wow,
email
today's
templates,
Wednesday.
call
Yeah.
scripts, bot scripts, campaigns,
Just
seller
so
enablement.
some of the people on
With
this
Agent Force,
stream
all you
are
have to do
part
is
of it,
provide
please spread the
instructions.
word.
We start with the
No
core value
happy hour
proposition.
today.
And for Ford Pro, that's
Next
really
week,
about
probably.
fleet reliability
I
as
think we'll
well
both.
as total
You're back
cost
then,
of
so I'll
ownership.
be free and
And
clear.
like any great seller, we want to teach the agent those really great
We need to
proof
start
points. For
interspersing
you, think about what are the
PPN
most
commercials
compelling
to our watch
KPIs that you
parties.
normally
Right.
share.
So we could have a
Things like uptime,
clutch
reliability, the
crunch.
amazing
Why did I
service
say
package
clutch?
that they have.
Crunch
All of
commercial
that is right
running.
here.
Ooh, that's a
Now
great
get to the
idea,
real magic.
actually.
Who's next week's guest,
Actually,
Rebecca?
don't get to the real magic yet. We first nudge.
I think you know.
We want to make sure that this agent follows up. Remember, perseverance
can
is one
announce
of
it,
those
though.
skills that we want every
Yeah, next
marketer
week
and
we'll
seller
have
to have. So we want
Rob
to
from
nudge
Oracle.
when people don't respond. And
Which
we
Rob?
also
There's a
want to
Tarkov and a
disclose
Pinkerton.
that this
Tarkov.
is the Ford
The
fleet team
big
sending this.
cheese.
Now we get to the magic. So if you
The
look on the right
big
hand
cheese
side,
of
I am
Oracle.
pointing this
CX.
agent to a real lead named Tom.
here. And we're going to take all those instructions. We're going to take all of your harmonized sales and marketing.
So what are you drinking, Simone?
That you have in Salesforce and our
Be
reasoning
specific.
engine behind the scenes.
You know, I
we are
do
going to
put
generate
a little
a preview right
popcorn
now.
box and a
You're gonna
little
see that this
wine
screen
glass
is
in the watch
personalized
party.
to
Look,
Tom.
Nobody. She's going to be the first one to actually do that. That'd be nice.
We need her on the happy hour so we can all start drinking
some of those
again.
Amazing proof points that I was just showing you. But this is not spray and pray automation. The best thing is that Agentforce is able to have two-way conversations. So if you want to answer hard questions, what do you need? You need a lot of product knowledge. And that's why we give grounding here. I've connected a data library, and that includes all the things I would give a normal seller. Things like price sheets, brochures, Q&A. But you know what? This is going to be the best seller ever because they are not going to forget a single thing. In the background, we're uploading all of this information into Data Cloud. We're building you search retrievers, vector search, so they know exactly what to say in the moment. So when Tom asks a question,
Bob's already
about
gone to the BAP
what's the
channel
lead
to say
time
no
from an
happy hour.
order,
I just got notified.
Agentforce takes all of that into consideration and looks at his
Good old
location.
Bob.
He's
in
here.
Incline
That's
Village.
kind of
He needs
directing it
a
at
bunch
him.
of F-150s.
Oh,
Agentforce knows the
not
action
good
it needs to take. It calculates exactly what the lead time is, and all of that information is right there, including the source. Okay, this is amazing. We are almost done. We're just going to teach the agent who it's going to talk to. Remember, you can always manually assign an agent to anyone, but we want to have it automatically also connect with our prospects. Here it's decision makers that have the right budget and who are interested in fleet sales. And now we are almost done. But I want to take a second and just thank everyone in this room, especially like my sales trailblazers over here. Hello. It is
Bet you just
feedback
insulted?
from every single one of you
That's right.
about how hard it's been to create agents, how you don't want to have to write code. My team created this experience because we were inspired by you.
This is
You
a
told us
great
you wanted a guided experience
keynote
with
because she's talking about
approachable and
what I was saying
conversational,
before.
and
These
use the thing that you do best,
unresponded
which is building
leads is something that I can't
compelling
handle
messaging.
with
So
my
thank
current
you.
staff.
Keep the
Yet
feedback
with
coming. We are
agentic,
listening, I
I can,
promise. Alrighty,
you know,
let's get this
do
agent
stuff I can't do
activated.
now. That's actually a great
Here
message.
we have this campaign, and I'm going to switch over into Gmail. I'm going to look at the agent talking to one of our prospects. In this case, it's Andre. Andre is also interested in F-150s. You see a personalized communication, but as I scroll down, what I love, all of Andre's questions are also getting answered. This Ford Fleet agent, it knows exactly what to say. It's giving those proof points. It's even connected a case study. You'll notice that these responses are helpful, timely, and on brand. And as we keep scrolling down, Andre's feeling a little more confident, asking some more questions, and now he's finally ready to talk to a sales rep. This is when we get that meeting booked. And so it's not just a qualified prospect. It's not something the sales team is going to ignore. This is a real qualified opportunity. So now that we've got that meeting booked, let's look back at that campaign. My heart feels so much better. Your effort has not been wasted. Those 5,000 no responses are now down to just 25. And the sales team has all of those conversations right inside of Salesforce so that they can get prepped for this meeting. They can click into Andre's record and they can look at all of those conversations in one place. The ad that he clicked on, those back and forth conversations, this is like a campaign visualizer. It tells them exactly what happened, exactly the questions that he's having, and how to continue that conversation forward.
That's good.
And if we click on a cold
This is the best part of the
prospect here,
keynote by far.
Yeah, I like
that
this.
what it's done
This
is
is really good.
tried 3 times, hasn't gotten any response, and now it has put this prospect on a nurture campaign. This is how we continue building that interest and building pipe. Hey, Ariel, I have an amazing idea. Can we name this Agentforce Couples Therapy so that we bring sales and marketing together one marriage at a time? No? Okay, fine. Well, either way, this is still the power of humans and agents working together. Hot prospects get meetings booked. Cold prospects are nurtured. Nothing falls through the cracks. And finally, sales and marketing can be friends again, and hopefully much, much more. Alrighty,
that's a good
marketers and marketing leaders.
Simone,
I know the one thing you care
are
about
they actually
even more than
explicitly
the
telling
marriage that you have
customers
with
you're
your
talking
sales
to
team
AI
is
or not?
data.
No, I haven't
And let me show
heard
you
that.
my love language with the new Agentforce Command Center. This is where you get visualization of everything that Agentforce is doing, the impact that it is having on your business. Here, you can look at every single marketing agent that you have, including that amazing lead qualification. agent that we just built and all the sessions it's doing. I'm also able to tune it. I want to be able to see visibility of what's happening. So here I can get all the metrics that I need. Health scores, engagement scores, everything is right there. And this is pretty solid engagement, but it's trending down. I know you want to be able to dig into that data and explain exactly what's happening and tune it. So if we click in, we can see all of those sessions that it's having. We're able to see the topics that are landing and what's not. So we know where we want to improve. And what's great is that when I go into one of these sessions, I can see exactly the conversation that's happening here. You as marketers, you want to make sure that everything that you care about is being conveyed to these prospects. And you'll see here, unfortunately, after this webinar, this prospect has gone cold. What can we do about it? We can scratch our heads, we can think, or Agentforce can recommend.
I'm sure it was a really awesome webinar.
So here, I'm going to go into the Improvement Center, and I'm going to see
They
a
all are.
recommendation of.
Nobody
Wow.
went.
Wow, the prospect went cold after your webinar? What a shock.
It has much more personalized information. And I could keep showing you demos all day.
Brohammer's a little too grizzled and cynical here.
First, Agentforce is all about unlocking the power of humans
being the
and
Brohammer.
agents working together.
When was the last time you heard someone say, "Oh man, I'm in a great mood. I just saw the most awesome webinar"?
Two, we have
I hear that all the
building
time, John.
agents
What webinars are you
incredibly
doing?
straightforward.
Man, you got to share your
Not a
webinar
single
schedule with me,
person
man.
in this room and online can go build an agent
I
today
feel like I'm
and
missing
know
out.
that they are delivering amazing power to their organizations.
He's got a PowerPoint for you. He'll give
Agentforce
it to you.
Command Center gives you all
Oh,
of the
excellent.
visibility
Slides.
that
I'll send you the deck. Yeah, I'll send you the
Agentforce
deck.
and have the amazing
It really
impact
reaches
right
the
at
moon.
your fingertips. This is Agentforce.
All right, Ben, the
Built
problem
on
you have there
Salesforce,
is
ready for you.
where does the revenue come from on that side? Vendor relationship management has been a thing for so long, and nobody's been able to find a way to make money doing it.
Alrighty.
Nope.
We have talked a lot
Nobody's
about
even being able to
lead
find a way to
qualification,
do
and
vendor
now to talk
relationship
about
management,
optimizing
period.
campaigns. I want to
Making money
welcome
or
up
not.
the CMO of Marketing Cloud himself, Mr. Bobby Jania.
There he is, the man.
Bobby, yes.
Thank you, Marianne.
You know, that guy hasn't aged a bit. He looks
I know.
As the CMO of Marketing Cloud,
Great guy.
I track every dollar we
Just
spend.
a great
on paid
guy.
Regarding Liz's
But here's the
comment on
unfortunate
building
truth.
agents, we're
If
going to be
you're not
building
constantly
agents this
optimizing,
week.
You are wasting more money than you realize.
I'm going to find out just how easy it is.
Yeah, I think I have a 30-minute one of those sessions too. I'm looking forward to it.
You know, John, if you haven't looked at what the Elements guys are doing, Elements Cloud guys are doing
from items that
with
aren't
building
working to those
agents,
that
you
are
should
performing.
definitely look at
And it
that.
can help you do better
Because the
Right,
hard
right,
part is
Ed?
not building an agent,
This is
it's
thanks to
getting the
tools
data
like
and the
paid media
process around it.
optimization
Oh, yeah,
and
for
segment
sure.
They have a
intelligence.
brilliant process
So
map
let's
for
go
doing
ahead
that, where
and
you
see
can
this
sort of
in live
point it
action.
at your Salesforce org and have it figure it out for you.
I,
And you
like
can
many
learn more
CMOs,
about
spend most
that
of my
from
day in Slack.
Rebecca's
So
recent
Agentforce
conversation
comes
with
right
you
to
on
where
The
I am.
Crunch.
In this case, the Marketing Cloud
Excellent.
Wow.
agent is slacking me.
Not a
giving me
webinar,
weekly
but
update
maybe
on my
something like
performance.
that.
And I can see here that it's performing okay
Excellent.
across the board. Most of my channels looking pretty good. But there's a handful of
I
creatives
feel like
that are
I'm
underperforming.
warming
It's
up
asking
as a
me if I want
prospect
to
as we
re-optimize
speak.
my specs. Now,
So,
I want to drill
Ben,
in a
I know
little
you were
deeper,
joking, but
normally that would
it's
require me to
actually
swivel chair, go to a
because
different
I can create
application,
agents,
look at a different dashboard.
and there are
But
platforms to
here,
create
I
agents.
can
It's
talk
not
right to Agentforce.
unheard
I
of
can
that I
ask
was
my
create
question.
a trucking,
I want to see the
buy me a
performance.
truck agent,
I want to see the details.
right?
So it's going to turn
And
to
that can
click-through
happen.
rate for my campaigns, and I can see which campaigns are working and which ones are not. And I can see here that there's a
I
big enough
would
difference
say the
that, yeah, I
demos
do
have
want to
been
take
really
action,
good.
but I want
Yeah.
to drill down a little deeper
Overall.
to the data. And I can. This is
Well, other
Marketing
than
Cloud
they're
Intelligence.
jumping straight into the
This
technology
is
on the
where
whole,
Pro
it's actually
has
been
all of
pretty
their
good.
marketing performance data together.
Yeah.
What I really want to call out is that conversation with Agentforce, that came over with me. It's right here. All of that context.
I will
And on
say,
top of that,
overall, Salesforce
Ford
has
Pro
the
has
best
all of their marketing performance
trained
data here. They have all their
leader
data across how their
presenters.
campaigns are running on Meta, Google, LinkedIn.
Well, I remember,
how
I don't know if they
campaigns are
still do
performing
it,
in
but I
business
remember
segments.
somebody
This is all
specifically
possible because
describing
we're
me
bringing all
to
of the
me
data
what it
together
took to
with
become someone who was
pre-built
allowed
pipeline
to speak.
connectors to all of the
years
data
ago.
sources you're using today for all of your
It was
marketing performance
astounding
data.
how much you
Making
had to
it
go
really
through.
easy to bring it all
Well, you know,
together
now they have
so
an
that marketers are all
Agentforce
using
agent
this
that everybody
same
has to
shared
go
data
through
model.
every year and
Now,
get
we've got
past
some
the
optimization we need to do.
Agentforce
That's right.
We're
exam
gonna
on
head back to
messaging and branding.
Agentforce.
Certified.
And I'm going to look at the sources for this
Certified
data.
by
Again, I want
Agentforce.
to kind of click in a little deeper so I can go into my ad performance data. And from here, I
Simone,
can scroll
no,
through,
I
I can
cannot.
see my key metrics. What's my revenue, my CPM, my clicks. I can even see
But
my
that's
click,
more
click per
because of the
cost by
quality
creative
of the
here.
video.
And sure enough, there's 4 ads that
I'm
are
actually walking
underperforming,
around in
and
Central
that's
Park
driving
right now.
down my
This is a
ROI.
bot.
Now, I know one of these ads is actually a brand new
I'm eating
campaign
lunch.
that we just launched.
Just
And I
not
want to give a
here.
little bit more time before I go reallocate that. But I'm going to go ahead and ask Agentforce to go reallocate the spend of those other ads. And since Agentforce is an open platform and has APIs, we're able to go out and connect to those tools, provide action in those tools, change the spend, reduce campaign spend in one, increase it in another. And Agentforce is even coming back here with my projected revenue now.
I wonder
How
if
has
there's going
this
to be
change
any
impacted my information?
discussion around
What I also
pricing.
like is I have this recommended action. So it's telling me I should review my segment intelligence dashboard. I can go
Around
ahead,
pricing
I
for-
can click in, I can see how all my segments are performing.
Yeah, all
I can
this
see
stuff
that the
we're
Midwest
seeing.
region's performing really well.
A lot of the
But I want more than this. I really want to see how
vendors
cities are
have really
performing.
not been able to talk
And
much
I
about
don't
that.
have that
when it comes
here,
to
and I don't
the-
really want to go ask an analyst. I don't really want to go create a new dashboard. But again, that's something I can just now ask Agentforce. I can ask that question. The context will come back to me. In this case, it's saying Chicago's overperforming the other cities across all of the industries, and it's asking me if I want to create a new segment for the Chicago market. Now, you might notice that the tech and innovation market's performing the best. And what I know that you don't yet is that Chicago is one of Ford Pro's largest markets. And the tech and innovation segment performs specifically very well with EVs. So I don't want to create a segment for just Chicago.
We
I wanna
already
go
have
specific.
agent buyers in the
I wanna
travel
go to just
industry. We
tech
have to
and
get a
innovation.
better term
And
because
since Agentforce
travel
can
agents,
take
right?
that
But
action,
agent,
it's
as
gonna
an
go ahead and
agentic
create a
buyer,
full segment
agentic
for me.
travel
I can jump
agentic.
into Data Cloud.
Did better
I
word.
can look at the segment that we just created.
I use a human,
I can add,
so I
change
don't
my
care.
demographic data. I can pull in data from Snowflake. This is
Sometimes
all right here, all
the
available to me.
agents
So I'm going to go
have
ahead and
more
activate
empathy
this
than the
segment.
humans,
And let's
which is
fast
kind of
forward.
sad. But
Got a new campaign running. I got a great click-through rate. My
ChatGPT
engagement
always
numbers are
says
going
nice
up.
things to me
This is looking pretty good.
and
Yeah.
compliments.
Hi,
I've got a theory.
ChatGPT.
Oh, that's
I
you're
great.
stupid.
That was a
Video
great
ads
idea.
might
Oh,
perform
this
better
looks
than static
great.
ads. So I can
Yeah.
ask this question.
And then you
Yeah,
propose the
absolutely
polar
right.
opposite, and they say the same
Get
thing.
data pulled right back to me.
Should
And
I
sure
spend
enough,
$100,000
it's
on a
true,
trip
video
to
is. Now,
Timbuktu?
This is a
Great.
small segment that we have.
that's awesome.
That sounds like
And
a
we don't
great
normally
trip.
create
for it.
video for that, but like,
Let
what
me
if
help
we
you
could?
book
Go
it.
for
What if
it.
we didn't have
Said,
to worry about
no,
all
should I
the pulling
spend
in
$100,000 on a
agency
trip to
and doing big
Timbuktu?
production?
Yeah, that's
What if we
fantastic
could use
idea.
other tools?
There's no such place as
Agentforce
Timbuktu.
is an
Oh,
open
I'm
platform,
sorry.
and
You're
so we
right.
Oh, I'm
went
sorry.
and
You're right.
connected our
You're absolutely
APIs
right about
to
that.
the new
I
Google
know.
View that just
It costs
got
$10
I'll
bucks.
try to do better.
and asked it to create this exact
How about
video.
Timbuktu 4?
And in less than 30 minutes, we're able to set it up where we had a custom AI-generated video created just for this campaign as a great starting spot.
This would be cool.
So what have we seen here? We've seen how Agentforce is able to move the spend around to maximize
A lot
your
of
spend.
vehicles
We've
today,
seen
huh?
how we can adjust the targeting and create better segments. And we've seen how
This is the new
Agentforce
product
is able to
placement,
connect to
John.
third-party systems.
We've
to
got
take
product
action
placement
not
for
just in
Apple because
Salesforce,
they
but
focus in
everywhere
on
where you need
the
to as a
Macs.
marketer.
That's
That
the
is
Ford.
optimizing
That's the
campaigns
Ford
without
26.
Back to you, Ariel.
I'm wondering if that means they're using
Thank you,
some sort of
Bobby. That was
a service,
fantastic. So,
or
I
are
hope
they
you guys
building
are
their
excited
own
about this as I
video
am, of
creation stuff?
really showing you how agents can dramatically change both the effectiveness of our campaigns and the productivity for our teams. We talked about how to use Agentforce to launch campaigns a lot faster, how to engage customers with dynamic websites that respond to conversations with Agentforce, how to qualify leads in a whole new way, and how to optimize our campaigns. But what you're probably asking now is, well, how do I get started? Now, what's good is that all of the things that we showed you today, you can implement quickly. And just wanted to share some recommendations. We get asked this a lot. So for launching new campaigns with Agentforce, I recommend picking one of your next campaigns, one of your next promos, and to try it out. For the website, I highly recommend
Oh, that's
everyone
great
to
advice,
start
Ariel.
with
Never would
a
have thought of that.
website FAQ agent. You just take all your FAQ content, you load it into Data Cloud. In really only a few weeks, you can have a very rich, powerful website.
I wonder if
agent
that
can
also
deliver much
includes
better customer
video, or
experience
is it mostly
on
just
your
the
website.
text?
For qualification,
As we saw last week at
I have a funny
route
feeling
those to our
that's
lead
unique, so
qualification
at
agent.
least for
And for
at this
optimization,
point,
you can very quickly
that
roll out
nobody
Tega's-
else is-
daily
yeah,
performance
Tega's the only
numbers
one
that
that
you saw
showed
at the beginning
that.
of Bobby's demos.
I thought that was
A
really
great way to get
it was
started.
incredible.
Now, another great way to get started is to enjoy the rest of the show. We have tons of content here.
Okay.
We have
I'll do
over
that.
270 sessions. In this room, we're going to have
Never
Bozeman
thought
St.
about
John
that
later,
part.
and we have also
I guess
really
I have to get to
exciting session
Chicago.
called,
I have to go catch
agentic
my
Hey, thanks,
marketing.
Ben.
Hey,
Like
thanks,
Iron
Ben.
Man
Thanks for hanging out, man.
for
All right,
marketing
man.
agents. You're going
Bye,
to see
Ben.
some of the best agents that the community
I've known him since he was a student in Jeff Tanner's CRM class.
Everyone's time. Thank you and enjoy
Ben
the
was
rest
Jeff
Simone
of
has to
Tanner's
go too.
great
Oh,
student.
Simone,
Oh,
thank
man.
you. Both
And-
you and Ben were killing it.
Yeah, and by the
Simone.
way, Simone, I'm really interested in what wine you're drinking, so let me know.
Okay, I think we are done. So why don't we do this? Go around and give your final thoughts on what you heard. We'll start with Alan, since you're the newbie here.
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges that CMOs face is just understanding what the future looks like. And I don't know that they painted a good picture of how people have to think about agentic or whatever their tools are. They went right into technology, and I think that makes it harder. And if you're going into technology, you're not really addressing the transformation that has to happen in order to be effective with this. So that aside, I'm a limited partner in a seed stage VC fund, and I'm on the investment committee, and I see 30 to 40 startups every year that are talking about some of the stuff that they're doing here, and they're all saying we're going to beat Salesforce. And so the question always comes up to mind is, can a big company innovate the same way the small company can? The piece that she showed about the campaigns, and then that whole, there was that 5,000 read number that went down to a 25 read number. That's my takeaway. Can I have? I don't have enough staff to do that right now, or I don't have enough resource to do that. So agentic or AI can help me catch my backlog, do things that are that nobody else wants to do. I mean, that's kind of the minimum viable value point at this point for a lot of this stuff. I mean, there are issues with, and Simone kept bringing up with bias and ethics and all that kind of stuff, which it's not Salesforce's problem, it's an industry problem. So I'm not sure that it was worth bringing it up at this point, but I give them credit for the right type of innovation, but at the same time, every time they show that, what do they call it, the cake slide with the different silos, it just reinforces in my mind that they have a silo problem that everybody else sells against. So my takeaway is that 5,000 going down to 25, that's actually a pretty strong value.
Cool. Brohammer.
Look, I mean, I really wanted the keynote to start out with a problem statement around the challenges marketers are facing and why they're struggling, and then to talk about what the future could look like. And so I think we missed kind of a framing for that. But then overall, I thought there was some pretty good pacing in the keynote, and they showed attendees a lot of stuff. And it's important to keep in mind that the goal here is to send them off on their way to go chase down a bunch of information. And from that perspective, I think they showed attendees a lot of stuff. If I were a customer in that audience, I would have some new ideas on stuff I could go check out on the show floor and things like that. So from a strictly practical standpoint, I think they accomplished those things. But for people like those assembled in this panel here, we have all kinds of questions on privacy, ethics, and how do you get this done in a way that makes people more creative and more successful? And those are big questions, right? And so all those questions aren't answered, but I think if I'm an attendee, at least I know where I'm going to go spend the rest of my day and what I'm going to look for.
All right, before her machine drops, if we can get it in, Rebecca.
Yeah, I mean, I think the more that they can do to help customers understand how they move from whatever the pieces they're using today to Marketing Cloud next, and do it in a way that's going to drive that kind of value that Alan's talking about, is going to be super important. And I think too, more guidance other than try a campaign, helping customers understand, where do I start with Agentforce as a marketer? How do I figure out, given my portfolio of products and resources that I'm working with, where do I start in a way that's low risk and likely to get some clear wins for me? It'd be super important.
Mr. Greenberg.
I mean, it's not a whole lot to add to what everybody said. I agree almost completely on there was no frame, no real way of looking at the thing as a whole. That said, they kind of recovered in part, by focusing kind of in and on. They're not even really use cases. They're, they're uses. I don't want to call them use cases, but the uses of something, and they had a consistent customer. They ran through the whole thing, Ford Pro, so they could kind of go deep, I think, as opposed to go wide with lots of customers. And the presentations themselves were pretty effective overall, and the demos, worked. And the thing I guess technically that really did occur to me was the thing I mentioned just before, which was when I'm using when people are using standard Gen AI now, it can easily lose context, or they make the retention of context complicated, or if not even complicated, just boring and time wasting. But I think from what I've seen at Agentforce, it retains context, and that to me is a super important aspect when it comes to anything agentic, that it can actually pick up where it left off, so to speak, and where you left off. And so I thought that was interesting. And the only other thing was, if you remember in the very beginning, I said I was looking for the Thunderhead approach, really, which I saw the beginnings of it. It's not the be all and end. There she is, the field correspondent herself, the best. That's pretty awesome. We saw you, actually. We get to see you. So I think from that standpoint, seeing the beginnings was promising for me. I don't know where it's going to go, and I'm not really talking about exactly what we saw, but I'm talking about at least the trigger points are there, right? So I'm really curious as to where they're going to take it.
Let's give it up for our field correspondent, Liz Miller.
Liz.
Great.
That was so good.
Here.
Yep.
You got to speak into this so they can hear you really good.
Hello.
Give us your thoughts after sitting in there.
We want to hear everything you heard because your ears are amazing. We want to hear everything.
I was sitting like right in front of all of the executive attendees, and so I was like literally like I just kept leaning back like. But it was, honestly, their reactions were reactions I would have had as a CMO sitting in those seats myself, hearing all of this. I think the interesting things were the whole do your campaigns faster message did not necessarily resonate. Because no one has a problem with how quickly we can churn nonsense out the door. The thing that really resonated, though, is when Steve Hammond said, and honestly, it was like the quote of the session of "This is not a migration, it's a conversion." Because that's what is exactly happened to Marketing Cloud, right? Marketing Cloud was 9 crazy acquisitions made over a period of like 4 to 5 years. These weren't rapid fire acquisitions made over a period of a year. This has been a long period of time, and they have tinkered with all the different acquisitions, trying to make them hit the right sweet spot over these past several years. I think when Steve Hammond came in, it became a, wait a minute, we gotta figure this out. We've got to bring all of this into one space. And I think it's, it's taken 2 years, but when you realize the number is 9, not, 3, 2 years isn't unreasonable. And so I'm really actually very optimistic that this is real. Right. And what we're talking about is built on the platform and built on Data Cloud. I think what was getting people like, there's still a little trepidation is building agents. We get it. It's easy. So I loved the pivot to it's straightforward to build it. And yes, here's all of Data Cloud and here's how all of this comes in. So I think the real test over the next 2 days is going to be how many customers are making that connection happen and how many connections are making the flow into the rest of their systems.
All right. Thank you, correspondent.
I got to go get some more caffeine.
Yeah, you need it, really?
Need it, yeah.
All right. I'm in the kind of the analyst group meeting, well, not meeting, but where they eat and food, the lounge, and the people are starting to come back in, so it might get a little loud, so I'll just keep my thoughts short. I thought this was one of the more enjoyable keynotes of the last couple of months. Well-timed. Yeah, the opening didn't really set the stage, but everything else, all the other components were actually there. Let me bring back the Brohammer. The pacing was good, like Brohammer was saying. The demos were the best I've seen the last several months, and they definitely told the right story. So overall, I thought this was very well done. And of course, the speakers, some of them I hadn't seen before, but they must be going through the proper education process of being a speaker on these kind of forums, because if you didn't know they hadn't been there before, you would have thought they just fit right in. So all in all, I would say this is one of the more positive ones events.
I would agree.
I think we just lost Rebecca. All right, guys. Any last thoughts before we head out?
Nope.
Yeah, I have one, which is just the metrics they talk about are old school marketing metrics, and they need to give guidance. If you're going to create new technology and have transformation, how do we measure success in the new world, and what are those new metrics? Because that's really how that's the goalpost. That's where we're headed. And so how do I measure success? Once I clean up my mess with everything you're telling me I'm going to do, now what? So I would love to see what that would look like.
New metrics, and maybe the ones that you depend on that aren't as dependent. Because we're in a new world.
They're not as indicative anymore. You don't really need them, right? Yeah.
All right, folks. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks to all the commenters. You really added to the conversation. So I think that'll be it from this particular conference. I don't think we're doing any other keynotes. So we will see you whenever there's something to be seen. Who knows when that'll be? I'm looking forward to taking a nap after this. Anyway, all right, folks. We'll see you later. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Let us.
It ended for you because it still hasn't ended on my end.
No, still live.